The scene is the salone of a palazzo in northern Italy. The first impression is of magnificence, then of ugly magnificence, finally of empty, ugly magnificence. Walls, floor, and the very window seats beneath the two vast windows are marbled, but the windows are uncurtained, and the room is in fact unfurnished, except for a crate of Coca-Cola bottles which has been dumped near the centre. On one of the window seats lies a relaxed young American, Virgil. His knees are crooked up into a lectern on which he has propped a pretty little black notebook. Matching it, he is in black from the neck of his smart sweatshirt to his sneakers. He looks, probably by intention, not unlike the young Lord Hamlet. All the hair on his head is evenly cropped to 1/4 of an inch, and it stands up straight like the pile on velvet. A worried middle-aged American, Homo, is pacing to and fro, from time to time snatching off his rimless spectacles and wiping them. If, at one of his blinded movements, he passes near the Coca-Cola crate, he is in danger of stumbling over it. His lightweight, crease-resistant suit is crumpled, and he is hot. He has loosened his tie to the point where one can hardly make out what it is like. His non-iron nylon shirt could do with an iron. He is rather fat. In the wall to the left is a heavy Renaissance portico containing a vast studded door which leads to the bedroom. An exactly similar door in the right wall leads to the kitchen. Both doors are shut.
Virgil.
Homer.
Virgil, are you planning on lying around all day today the way you did yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
This heat is murder. Mary says it isn't any worse than Southern California, but I tell her it is. It carries a higher degree of humidity. Southern California, you got the ocean. Gee, it's hot. It's hot as hell.
Maybe you should relax more.
I guess one in the family's enough.
One what?
Oh, you know what I mean, Virgil. It's hot enough so it even mists up my lenses. You're lucky you don't have to wear glasses. This heat, you wouldn't even be able to see to write.
I'm not writing. I'm reading back what I already did.
That reminds me. Sometime I gotta talk with you. You want a drink, Virgil?
Mm-hmm. Whiskey sour.
I didn't mean hard liquor.
Oh, no thanks.
I guess I wish we had a water cooler in this place. Guess I'll have myself a Coke. I wonder if Mary could use a Coke. You think Mary could use a Coke, Virgil?
How would I know? Go on in and ask her.
I can't go in there right now. She isn't through fixing her face.
Oh, well, yell.
What?
Yell. Ask her through the bedroom door.
Yeah, I might do that. Sure.
Well, go ahead.
Sure.
Homer!
I'll be right in, honey. I just grabbed myself a Coke. I just gotta find some place to put it down.
Oh, don't come in, Homer.
I certainly am sorry, Mary.
Why, that's perfectly all right, Homer. Think no more of it. Homer?
Yes, Mary?
Would you look round the palazzo? See if I left my Kleenex someplace?
Sure, Mary. I don't see too well. My lenses get misted up again. I don't see them anyplace, honey, but I'll keep right on searching. Virgil, you seen them?
Seen what?
Mary's Kleenex.
Oh, sure.
Now, why in the world would you want to do that?
Well, this window seat isn't too soft, Homer.
If you wouldn't lie around all day.
Don't you want them?
What?
Mary's Kleenex.
Oh, wait a moment, can't you? I've got to wipe these lenses again.
No, don't you get steamed up too.
I'm not getting steamed up, but you don't seem to understand. I got to get those Kleenex for Mary. Give here. Why, Virgil, you crushed one whole side of the pack. I don't know how Mary's going to take that.
Yeah, well, these sharp angle packs aren't really any more comfortable than marble. I guess I really took Mary's Kleenex more as a kind of talisman. You know, like a chicken sits on a china egg to inspire my work.
Now that's something I have to talk with you about, Virgil. I'll just go give these to Mary. I'll be right back. Mary, I found them, honey. But I'm afraid the pack didn't stand up too well to Virgil.
Well, isn't that too bad of me, Homer? I was just going to call out I didn't need them anymore.
Oh.
Oh, Homer, don't be sore. I found another pack right in here.
Oh, I'm not sore, Mary. I'm certainly glad you found another pack. That's swell. You through there yet, honey?
Not yet, Homer.
Oh, okay.
Give here.
What?
If Mary doesn't want them, I may as well sit them a while longer. You never know what might hatch. I'll take a look around later, see if I can find a pack that isn't crushed. You don't have any scatter cushions around the place, Homer. I guess you don't have the domesticated touch. But you have to hand it to Mary. She certainly does have scatter Kleenex.
Now see here, Virgil.
I don't hear you too well, but you boys sound to be having a lot of fun out there. I'll be right along.
That's swell, honey.
I don't figure how it takes a woman that long to make up like she was 25 when she is 25.
Now wait a minute, Virgil.
Mm-hmm.
Mary's a lovely person.
Sure, Homer. Mary's just great. She's great material.
What do you mean, material?
You know how it is, Homer. I guess I have a professional attitude, that's all. I'm certainly glad you married Mary.
I don't know just how you can mean that, Virgil. Do you mean you're glad on account of your work?
Oh, I don't separate my work from my life.
Now that's something we have to talk about. I'll just have myself that Coke.
In fact, I don't separate my work from your life.
I didn't hear you too well. I was kind of swallowing. Did you say my life or my wife?
Oh, I wouldn't dare.
Let's leave Mary out of this, Virgil. I want to talk with you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you ever look up from that book?
I'm told I have a very remarkable concentration.
I guess I wouldn't break your concentration no matter what happened.
Nothing does happen.
Maybe not, but most of the time it sounds like it did. Know what I think, Virgil? I think Italy's the noisiest country I was ever in.
It's no worse than Southern California.
It is so worse than Southern California. Out here, you get the cicadas. If it isn't the cicadas, it's the lambrettas. If it isn't the lambrettas, it's the doves. If it isn't the doves, it's those goddamn chickens out there in the yard.
Oh, I don't mind the chickens in the yard so much.
Now see here.
Cool off, Homer.
How can I cool off this heat? We ought to have drapes at those windows. Cut out the sun. I don't know the Italian for drapes. Anyway, Mary likes looking out the window. I'm worried, Virgil. I don't know how Mary's going to take to this kind of climatic conditions.
Relax, Homer. Mary doesn't feel it at all.
You don't know how Mary feels. Mary is a very delicate character. I don't see how I can ask Mary to live in a climate like this.
You didn't ask her. It was Mary's idea.
Well, you know what I mean, Virgil. You know how it is. A guy has to look out for his wife. He has to make provision. If I'd have known there wouldn't even be a shower in the palazzo.
You had one fixed in?
Sure, I had one fixed, and I'm going to have plenty else fixed. I'm going to make this old palazzo like so it won't know itself. But Mary's a very sensitive person. She's delicate, Virgil, even though she doesn't make any song and dance about it. Yes, honey.
Could you step in here for a moment, Homer?
Sure, Mary. I'll be right in. You through now? I'll get it. I'll be right back, Mary. I just got to go and see to the front doorbell.
Oh, let Leah Pia get it.
How can I let Leah Pia get it? She doesn't speak English.
So she doesn't speak English. Maybe it was an Italian drop by.
Are you crazy? How would an Italian drop by?
Well, we are in Italy.
Oh, sure, I know we're in Italy, but
Homer, would you step along to the front door? The bell just rang.
Sure, Mary, sure. I'll get it.
Working his head with signals of assurance directed at the closed door to the left, he lets himself out the door to the right, which he closes behind him. Virgil lays his book upside down on his humped knees and enjoys solitude and the sounds of the cicadas, the lambrettas, the chickens. The knob of the door to the left turns, the door opens, and Mary, with exaggeratedly pretty stealth, tiptoes into the salone. Virgil braces himself to be crept upon. She arrives behind his head and laces her fingers over his eyes.
Morning, Virgil. Guess who?
Mary.
You're a good guesser, Virgil.
Mary, just like I thought. Morning, Mary. You look cute.
Why, thank you, Virgil.
Sure cute. Sure cute. Little ponytail, all done up in a tartan bow, and those long white knee-hose, and your Bermuda shorts, and that cute little, what do you call it?
Shirtwaister?
Sure, shirtwaist. Oh, you look cute, Mary. You look like all the college girls in Southern California rolled into one.
Why, Virgil, that's the darlingest thing you ever said to me. I guess you must be becoming a better integrated personality. I'm going to give you a little kiss on your brow just for saying that.
Oh, don't take any account of me, Mary. I'm just apple polishing. There's something I want you to tell me.
Well, I'll certainly tell you anything I can, Virgil, but Homer says you already know most everything. I'm going to just curl up alongside of you on this lovely Renaissance window seat, and then you can ask me anything you want. I guess wherever I am, I find myself some corner I can curl up in. There now, Virgil. What's your problem? You know, Virgil, Homer has a very, very high regard for your intellectual integrity.
Now, how would he be able to judge, I wonder?
Now, Virgil, Homer's a very...
Oh, sure. Homer's a very lovely person.
I'm certainly glad you appreciate it. Now, what is it I can tell you?
Why don't you ever let your husband in your bedroom, Mary?
Virgil Knockabicker, how can you make such an absolutely awful insinuation? If you dare imply for one moment that I don't...
Mary, I only asked.
Virgil Knockabicker, I'm going to go right back into the boudoir until Homer returns.
Mary, what did I do?
What did you do? You're insinuating that my relationship with Homer is not perfectly adjusted on the physical side.
Oh, Mary, I only asked.
You as good as call me a frigid wife.
Mary,
I do so let him in the bedroom.
Well, he told me a while back he couldn't go in there.
Oh, sure. But that was in the morning.
Well, what's the difference?
Oh, Virgil, you certainly seem a little naive for your age. Homer comes in my room nights, of course. And then he always goes away while it's still dark. He promised me that's how it would always be. And I know Homer won't break his promise. Then mornings, he doesn't come in again until I got my face fixed.
Is it that important? He shouldn't see you without you got your face fixed?
Well, maybe it isn't that important right now, Virgil. But it will be. And the way Homer is, it could do a lot of damage to his feelings if I suddenly had to ask him to quit coming in when I got to an age where it would matter. Right after Homer became my beau, I figured out I ought to start writing planning the future. It was our wedding night I asked him to give me this promise. That way, I know he'll never break it.
And you feel you couldn't possibly let him in until you're through fixing your face?
No, I couldn't do that, Virgil. I just couldn't do that. You see, Virgil, I have something I want to preserve.
Your face.
No, Virgil. Something intangible. Something that's been kind of entrusted to me. I don't know that you can understand very well, Virgil. Although you and I are pretty much the same age, I guess a woman matures faster than a man. I doubt that you've achieved sufficient maturation yet to understand. But what I feel is, well, I guess I feel that romance is a very wonderful and a very fragile thing. I guess I'll just go along and see who it was dropped by. Maybe I can help Homer some. Well, I'm glad you talked to me about this, Virgil. I'm not going to tell Homer we talked about it, because I believe that even within the marital framework, there ought to be areas of privacy. If you have some more problems, Virgil, I hope you'll talk with me about them. I have a personal conviction that relationships can only achieve a completely adjusted orientation if problems are brought right out in the open. And I sincerely hope we can all three pass a wonderful vacation in this lovely old palazzo.
After directing a last spiritual smile down upon Virgil, Mary leaves by the stage door at left. Virgil sighs with a bliss almost unbearable. The door at the right opens, and Leah Peer, an aged bundle in black cotton, with ginger-coloured felt slippers turning over at the sides, ushers in a plumpish, shortish, youngish Italian.
Si accomodi, signora. Si accomodi. Si accomodi.
She shuffles out the way she came. The Italian, who has not noticed Virgil's presence, walks briskly to the middle of the room, whistling. He is the sort of man who would not notice he was waiting if he did not make signals of it to himself. He is immaculately pressed, laundered and barbered. White shirt, petrol-coloured two-piece suit, the trousers held up by a narrow imitation crocodile belt, beneath which his waist bulges slightly and rather becomingly. Straight black knitted nylon tie, plumb as a fluted pilaster. Expanding gold watch strap on small, clean, though hairy wrist. Under his arm he carries a handleless dark grey briefcase of the kind of leather whose surface resembles seersucker. He balances his briefcase on top of the Coca-Cola bottles, and then raises one of his small, well-shod feet and balances that on the edge of the crate while he straightens his dark blue fluted nylon sock.
I don't know why the old thing told you to accommodate yourself.
Scusi, scusi, non avendo visto.
Okay, well, maybe I am insignificant. You could sit on the Coca-Cola crate, but I doubt it's that comfortable.
Please, it is no matter. I come to work, not sit. You are Mr. Knockabicker? I am the man who has come to fix the...
Oh, then I'm not the Mr. Knockabicker you want. No, the Mr. Knockabicker you want, the Mr. Knockabicker who counts, will be along presently. Pardon me if I catch up on some reading while you wait.
Plays the Mr. Knockabicker who counts?
Sure, who counts on the dough. I'm just the kid brother. Mr. Knockabicker who counts went to meet you. And the Mrs. Knockabicker who counts went right after him. But the way this palace is constructed, if you miss somebody the first time round, you have to go through a whole suite of rooms before you get back to where you started. The Italian Renaissance discovered many important principles, but not that of the corridor.
Lumaca, Angelo.
Knockabicker, Virgil.
You are reading.
Mm-hmm.
I too read. Very often. It is being very hot. I take off my coat. This is not a nuisance.
Go right ahead.
Angelo takes off his coat, folds it neatly inside out so the sun will not fade it, removes his wallet from the coat pocket to his hip pocket, smooths the coat lining again, hangs the coat from the knob of one of the shutters near the window seat not occupied by Virgil, makes sure the coat is hanging straight, and returns expectedly to the centre of the room.
Ah, that is being better. You are not too hot dressed in black.
Black is the coolest color there is, and I'm one of the coolest characters, so.
I am sorry. I have been bad to ask that question.
How so?
Probably you are wearing the black because you are being bereaved.
No, I wasn't bereaved recently, but now that you come to mention it, I am prepared. I guess that's my only resemblance to a Boy Scout.
You are reading a book that is being interesting.
Enthralling.
Love story, police story, espionage, Reader's Digest, science fiction.
Poetry.
I too am loving poetry. Even though I am being engineer, I am loving poetry. You know what I am thinking, Mr. Nakabika Jr.? I am thinking in life today there is not enough poetry. I am loving beauty in all its forms. I love poetry, music, paintings. I am loving all the arts. And do you know why, Mr. Nakabika Jr.? Because they are so beautiful. I am loving all the beautiful things, including the women, yes?
Is that so?
I think you are feeling the same, eh, Mr. Nakabika Jr.?
Mm-hmm. All except the women.
How is this? You are not loving the women?
I'm homosexual.
Oh. I am begging your pardon.
Don't mention it. What a peculiar conversation.
Mr. Nakabika Jr., the poem you read, who is the author?
I am.
Oh, you are meaning this is true? Really? You have written a poem?
I am writing. I didn't finish it yet.
And you are beginning it when?
When I was 10.
You are writing since you have been 10? One poem? So many years. One poem?
I'm not that old.
No, but...
I guess it was the romantic movement. Spread the idea of a poem has to be a lyric.
Without the lyric feeling, where is the poetry?
Before Romanticism was invented, there were plenty of long poems. My namesake, Virgil, who was born not so far from here, wrote an extremely long poem. My brother's namesake wrote 2 of them. Dante and Milton also wrote long poems, but as my parents didn't have any more sons, they were not commemorated in our family.
Dante, Milton, that was long ago. Modern life moves with more pace, Mr. Nakabika Jr. How you find rhymes for a long poem? It is difficult, yes?
I don't use rhyme.
Without the rhyme, how is it poetry? You are writing blank verses.
I don't use meter.
What can it be like, your poem?
My poem is kind of an American song of songs.
But without the rhyme, without the meter, where is the poetry?
The poetry is in the subject.
Mr. Nakabika Jr., what is the subject of your poem?
The subject of my poem is American women.
Ah, now I am understanding. The American woman, she is poetry herself.
Yeah, I include her among the ideas which have a sufficient poetic content in themselves. along with the collision of the planets and the copulation of dinosaurs.
You must be a very poetical person, Mr. Knockerbaker Jr.
Fortunately, I don't have to reply to that compliment, because I hear the other Mr. Knockerbaker is on his way back. He has a very weighty tread. Now to think of it, Homo must weigh all of 160. Mr. Homo Knockerbaker. Homo mean Angelo Lumaca.
Mr. Lumaca.
Call me Angelo.
Sure. Virgil, did you see Mary anyplace? Leopia was saying something about the Signora, but I didn't follow her too well.
Mary went right after you. She'll be back.
I certainly hope she will. This palazzo. A person as delicate as Mary could easily get lost in a palazzo like this. Pardon me, Angelo. I'm sorry I had to keep you waiting. I got snarled up with the hired help. She only speaks Italian. I didn't get what she was trying to tell me.
Oh, Homer, there you are. I was... why, I didn't know we had company.
Honey, I'd like to have you meet Mr. Angelo Lumaca.
Please, call me Angelo.
Angelo? Why, that must mean angel. That's a perfectly darling name. I'd certainly feel very privileged to call you by a name like that. Welcome to our palazzo, Angelo. I certainly never thought I'd be welcoming a real Italian in a real Italian palazzo.
Welcome to Italy, Mrs. Knockerbaker. Mwah.
Well, you certainly have palazzo manners.
Now she'll want us all to kiss her hand every morning. It'll become a ritual, like the breakfast food.
Now see here, Virgil.
Now, Homer, quick picking on Virgil. You know he can't help himself.
You hired this palazzo, Mr. Knockerbaker?
What? Oh, yeah, sure, for our vacation.
You have a very old palazzo here, Mr. Knockerbaker. Cinquecento.
And boy, is it hideous.
Why, Virgil, how can you say such a thing?
Oh, no, Mr. Knockerbaker Jr., you must be mistaken. This palazzo is very old. It is of the Rinascimento, you understand? Of the 16th century. So it cannot be hideous.
Oh, don't take any account of Virgil. Have you looked out the window, Angelo? We have a real Italian yard out there, a giardino.
La signora parla Italiano.
Oh, no, not really. Just a word or two I picked up from the hired help. But I certainly hope to learn a lot more. Yes, we have a real Italian giardino, and real Italian doves, and real Italian chickens. I didn't learn the Italian for doves or chickens yet, but I get a big thrill just from watching those chickens and knowing every one of them is a real Italian chicken.
You have 20, 30 hens out there and only 2 cocks? Nice life for the cocks, eh?
If you like responsibility.
Oh, you mean roosters.
Please?
Somebody sold you English instead of American English, Angelo. In the United States, we have to call them roosters because American women have such effortlessly sexual trains of thought.
Virgil, will you please be quiet?
What did he say, Mary? I don't get it.
Don't let's pay any attention to Virgil. He certainly has some antisocial compulsions this morning. But I'm not going to let anything spoil this wonderful place. Do you know, Angelo, living here, I can just imagine I'm back in those old days with knights and cardinals and poison and frescoes and illuminated manuscripts. Oh, I was just wild to get here. Last fall, I said to Mr. Knockerbaker, Homer, if it's the last thing you ever do for me, take me to Italy.
Yeah, I know, honey, but in those days, they didn't have too good a concept of hygiene. And a place like this...
Oh, Homer, quit worrying. We're making out fine.
So far, honey. Knock on wood. Where's some wood? Hell, this place is all marble.
There's that Coca-Cola crate.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Virgil.
Now, Homer, quit fussing. What could happen?
Oh, you're a brave little person, Mary. Do you know, Angelo, when we came here, they didn't even have a shower in this palazzo, only a tub.
Relax, Homer, will you? You'll give yourself a duodenal. Just relax and let the lovely Italian culture just seep into you.
Maybe I'll get around to that, baby, when I get this place fixed so it's good enough for you.
Oh, you take marvelous care of me, Homer. Do you know, Angelo, Homer had a shower fitted.
Yeah, I had this shower fitted and I installed another icebox. And
Why, yes, Angelo. Homer had a complete kitchen installed right here. It's right through there, just next door to the living room. So we don't have to have our food cooked by the hired help anymore.
when we first came, the hired help wanted to cook everything, but she was operating under pretty primitive conditions.
Oh, it wasn't just the conditions, Homer dear. It was the calories. I don't know, Angelo, if you ever saw the breakdown of the calorific content of olive oil, but believe me, it would horrify you. Well, the first thing Homer did, he imported a stock of low-calorie cooking medium from the States, and then fixed up this little kitchen right out there.
Yeah, well, we have this kitchen, but there are some gadgets I wasn't able to find in Italy, and some we have that I imported, but they're not yet operational.
But Mr. Knockabicker, please listen. This is why I am here.
Why you are here? I don't get it. Angelo, I have to just wipe off my lenses again.
Please, Mr. Knockabicker, I am the man who has come to fix the waste disposal unit.
No. Well, how do you like that? Hello there again.
Hello.
Hi.
Ciao.
Well, I guess that just about takes care of it. You know, I guess I thought that as you weren't an American, you wouldn't know how to fix a waste disposal unit.
I am the accredited Italian agent. I have here my card. You see, I am the accredited agent of the Atlantic Seaboard Waste Disposal Unit Corporation of New York, USA.
Well, what do you know? Isn't that swell, Mary? Now we can have that waste disposal unit operational.
You certainly can, Mr. Knockabicker.
Homer, would you take Angelo through there and show him where it has to be connected?
I sure will. Right through there, Angelo.
You are going to enjoy this waste disposal unit, Mrs. Knockabicker. This is the finest waste disposal unit on the market, a triumph of American technical know-how. This unit will dispose of anything. Say goodbye forever to malodorous, unhygienic, germ-breeding, squelchy bundles. The Atlantic Seaboard Waste Disposal Unit takes over. Soggy, crunchy, pulpy, bony, mushy, spiny. It is all one to the Atlantic Seaboard Waste Disposal Unit.
The guy certainly is accredited.
Hey, Homer, ask him if he ever fixed one before.
Oh, you got something there, Mary. They told me this was the first imported into Italy. Say, Angelo, did you ever fix one before?
Mr. Knockabicker, Mrs. Knockabicker, please, I am the accredited agent. I fix it.
The door shuts after Homer and Angelo. Swinging her ponytail, Mary makes her way to the unoccupied window seat, perches one urchin knee on it, and looks out of the window. Virgil, on his window seat, reads for a moment, then...
You mad at me, Mary?
Why no, Virgil. I guess I maybe would be if I didn't know you have problems.
I got problems, okay? How am I gonna end this poem?
Maybe it'd make you feel like mixed up, Virgil, if you kind of explained your problem to me.
I guess it's easier for composers. They just come back to the keynote and it sounds swell.
And you want a kind of a keynote for your poem?
It's not that simple. I need a climax, something terrible, tragic, and then a resolution, and then some kind of a final chorus to round the whole thing off.
I'll keep it in mind, Virgil. Maybe I'll come up with something we can kick around together.
He's making out fine in there. We'll soon have that unit operational. And how are you making out, Mary? Still looking out of that window?
Oh, I'm as happy as can be, just so I can watch those romantic old doves and those quaint little old chickens.
Oh, you're just a lovely little person, Mary. You're just so satisfied with the simple things of life.
Homer.
Why, Mary? Hey, Mary. Mary, what's your problem? Mary, look at me. Virgil, she's gone quite rigid, like she was in shock. I guess I ought to pat her cheeks. Hey, Mary. Mary.
Homer, I've been watching those roosters.
Sure, Mary, I know it.
Homer, one of those roosters is a degenerate.
Oh, my poor little Mary, my poor little Mary. Why did you have to be born so sensitive? Now listen, Mary, you quit thinking of it right now. You start right in thinking about something beautiful. You start thinking about music or lovely old paintings or beautiful literature.
Why don't you tell her to take a look at the waste disposal unit?
Why, Mary, you hear what Virgil said? I think that's a swell idea. Come along now. If there's one thing that ought to take your mind off that ugly, unclean things that happen in this world, it's that waste disposal unit. You go right on in there, Mary. See how the project's making out. Now what are we gonna do?
I don't know why. That question always panics me. Do about what, anyway?
That rooster, of course. I can't ask Mary to share the premises with a rooster that's a degenerate.
I don't see that's any worse than asking her to share them with a brother-in-law that's a degenerate.
Well, you quit talking that way. You'd be a perfectly healthful American boy if only you try.
I guess that's what's unhealthful about me. I can't even try to try.
Well, why not, for pity's sakes? Don't I have enough on my mind already?
Maybe I'm afraid it would spoil my work.
Now, that's another thing. I keep trying to get around to talking with you about that. How much longer is your work gonna take?
I can't say. I'm kind of held up for a climax.
You know, Virgil, I sometimes got to wondering if you wrote anything at all.
Okay, I'll read it to you.
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't finish it yet.
Well, I'll read as far as I went. Maybe you'll come up with something for the ending.
I don't think I have any talent.
Then sit down, brother, and listen to mine.
How can I sit? There's no place to... I guess I can stand. It won't take too long, will it?
Why didn't you hire some furnishings for this palazzo?
Oh, that's a very selfish request, Virgil. You're the one that sits around all day. Maybe I'll hire some furnishings when I get around to it. But the first problem is to make basic living conditions fit for Mary.
Okay, brother, you stand. But don't you move around any. You could distract me.
Okay. Quit stalling, Virgil. Shoot.
Say, Homer, I hope you know this isn't going to be like poetry like you mean poetry. It's more like, did you ever read Chinese poetry?
Oh, sure. I guess I read some Chinese poetry someplace, some magazine or something. In English.
Oh, my poetry's in English too. I just wanted you to know the opening sequences are modeled on Chinese poetry.
Virgil, do you think you can, do you figure you can sell this? Is there a market for it? I don't know, the Chinese market's too easy to break into. I don't know, it could even be poetry is scheduled.
Scheduled?
A schedule of prohibited exports. I mean, if you're thinking of Red China.
Brother.
Okay, I didn't say a thing. Go right ahead.
The American woman, is strange, terrible, and beautiful, like fruits from the sea. There is nothing she would not ask her husband to do for her. For this reason, she appears to be the most independent woman in the world. Just as aristocrats are said to be of independent means when they are in fact supported by slave labor.
Is that all?
That's all of section 1.
Maybe I'll get to see more in it when I become better accustomed to it.
Section 2. The American woman has grown like a cactus in a place where there is no water. The American woman would rather be a lovely person than be herself. The American woman would rather be a lovely, warm, genuine, sincere person than simply be.
Say, Virgil, do you think Murray's making out okay in there? Supposing this guy, Angelo, makes a pass at her.
Homo, quit worrying and concentrate. Mary can handle it.
I doubt that she can. That guy's a Latin. He's hot-blooded.
You don't seem too well acquainted with Latin Moors. If he does make a pass, he'll just pinch her fanny. That's a climatic act for Latins. Mary will just think a mosquito got her.
I don't know that she will.
Of course she can handle it, Homer. She'll handle it with a flint gun. Now, can I read the 3rd canto?
Third what? Sounds like you were going horseback riding.
Homer, you're not that illiterate. Or maybe you meant it as a gag. The 3rd canto is freer and more rhapsodic in style.
Okay. I guess we'll get to hear of it if Mary has problems.
There is only one American woman, but she has 2 faces. One old, one young. When she is young, she is younger than you would have thought possible. And when she is old, she is older than the rocks she has persuaded her husband to buy for her. The young American woman is like an ad in a magazine of a glass of fresh milk from the icebox. She looks thirst-quenching, but when you taste her, she tastes of wood pulp. The young American woman is a wax apple. She is flawless, but she has no sap, except her husband. When you have talked with her a little while, you realize she was not begotten by sexual intercourse. Therefore, when she grows old, she becomes a goddess. I love her best when she is old, for then she commands me more. You know, I really mean that, Homer. I'm determined to live to be a very old man because I want to see Mary grow old. I follow the American goddess through the beautiful shrines of Europe. I shadowed her through the Louvre. I nearly caught up with her in the Rue de la Paix. I watched her buying leather girths from a tiny but expensive basement shop in Florence. I dodged between her and the sunlight in Roman colonnades. I glimpsed her in the Castile. When I stood at the Parthenon, she was there. She loves all that is old and said to be beautiful. She has no taste, but she has attended many seminars on good taste. The old American woman is all locust and no wild honey. She is dry and mottled like peanut brill. If you held her and bent her, she would snap. But you do not lay hands on a cold object. The strands of her hair are one with the spun gold she wears at her wrists and her neck. Her eyes are one with the topazes she wears on her knuckle bones. The skin of her forearms is one with the alligator hide that makes her purse. I followed the tinkle of the charms on her charm bracelet and the tinkle of her beaten metal hair. I followed the clacking of her heels and the clacking of her voice, which is an almost perfect imitation of the human voice. I followed. I am unnatural. I am perverse. The American woman is more strange and more bizarre than the art of the mummy maker. And she is more old. Organic in form, she is not created by life, but is slowly deposited like a tree of crystals, imitating a Baroque pearl. The American woman is a wax avocado pear from a desert under the sea.
Into the echoes of the last line, the door on the right bursts wildly open.
Oh, no, 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 Aurore! No!
What happened? What happened to Mary? They won't let me in there, Angelo. I gotta get in there. I gotta see what happened to Mary.
Non ci niente da vedere.
What did he say, Virgil?
He says there is nothing to see.
What?
Mr. Knockabigger, I tell her not to lean over and peer down, but she wants to check I fixed it right.
Had you reversed the machinery or something? Let me in there!
Mr. Knockabigger Jr., you are understanding, are you not? I did fix it right. You don't believe me. Yes, I reversed the machinery, but it was very efficient. In 30 seconds, everything you understand, Mr. Knockabigger Jr., everything.
My little Mary. My little Mary. She was such a dainty little person. The last thing she would have wanted was to get mixed up with the garbage. Virgil, I know you will never forget that just before, why, it could even have been at that very moment. Well, anyhow, that you were just saying you wanted to live and see what a lovely, lovely old lady Mary was going to grow into.
Signore, ho incontrato questa signora davanti al cassa. Non so cosa vuole.
Mrs. Vandenmost.
Mrs. Vandenmost enters. She looks exactly as we should expect Mary to look in 30 years' time, and is, of course, taken by the same actress.
Now, Homer, you know I asked you to call me something more intimate, such as Mom, because I think it would be so lovely for Mary to feel her family has been really integrated into her marriage.
I didn't know.
I know it, Homer. You didn't even know I was in Europe. Well, I'd figured I'd just hop over and see how you were taking care of my little girl. I was counting on giving you a real surprise, and I must say you certainly seem to have gotten one. I wasn't even going to ring the doorbell. I was just snooping around outside when that lovely old Italian hired help came out to feed your chickens. Those certainly are lovely chickens, Homer. I can just guess how Mary loves those chickens. And your lovely hired help brought me right along in. Oh, Virgil's here. Hi, Virgil. I certainly hope you're beginning to get a hold on those problems of yours. Why, we have company. I didn't notice.
This is Signor Angelo Lumaca.
Why, you must be an Italian. I just love Italians. I love your Renaissance. I feel sure you must be a very good friend of my little girl, because she just loves the Renaissance too. Now, where is my little girl? No, don't tell me, I can guess. Mary always takes such good care of her husband. Signor Lumaca, she's a real homebody. I don't have to ask where she is. I feel positive she's right along in the kitchen. She had such a happy temperament. She made everyone happy. Well, I should know. Right from the start, she made me happy. Why'd you know, Signor Lumaca? That little girl was toilet trained before she was 1 year old. It was on account she had such a happy temperament I persuaded Mr. Vandermost to let me call her Mary. Lots of folks, when they first meet her, they think she's called Mary. Maria, as you would say it, Signor Lumaca. But no, her name is really Mary. M-E-R-R-Y. Because I always tell them she is. Now, where is the kitchen? No, naughty me, I don't need to ask. I didn't pass it on my way along, so I guess it must be right through here. I'll just go give Mary a little surprise. Mary! Mary, dear! I didn't find Mary yet, Homer, but I saw you had a waste disposal unit installed. Now, that's very thoughtful of you, Homer. I'm sure Mary appreciates that. Well, I wouldn't have thought you could obtain one over here. Well, I guess you had it imported. But I reckon it was quite a problem for you getting it operational. I wonder if you got it fixed right.
Oh, Mrs. Vandermost, no, come back, no!
Stop her! Stop her, Angelo! I'm coming! Stop her! Stop her! Stop her! Stop her!
See, Mr. Knockabicker Jr.?
Virgil!
No?
Yes.
Yes. The way I look at it, God proposes.
And the Atlantic Seaboard Waste Disposal disposes.
Well, everything has to come to an end.
And the Atlantic Seaboard Waste Disposal Unit is the Americans' male's best friend.
Soggy,
Crunchy,
pulpy,
bony,
mushy,
spiny, mottled shiny,
pulpy.
bony.
Please.
How you feeling now, brother?
How am I feeling now? M-E-R-R-Y.
Mary!
Mary!
Say goodbye forever to squelchy bundles.
La donne mobile, la donne mobile.
Soggy,
Crunchy.
Honey bunchy,
sodden,
Right.
sweetie pie. Say goodbye.
mushy,
Spiny.
dainty,
Tiny.
lovely,
Happy.
Minced up pappy.
very,
Mary.
La donne mobile.
Et responsibile. Angelo, did it take everything?
Every single thing, Mr. Knockabicker Jr.
even the second time round.
Second time round was even more efficient, Mr. Narcobigot. That machine likes something tough to bite on.
Angelo, Homer, I guess we have witnessed the ultimate triumph of American technology.